I would like to welcome to the show Dr. Joseph Vertino, Vertino, who is what do you call this? A spiritual guide, a Reiki master, an author, and a musician. And I'm glad for you to be here. Thank you for having me as well.
Yes, my pleasure. I um yes, my main title is spiritual guide. Um Thank you for that introduction. And I certainly enjoy sincerely being introduced as a Reiki master in the tradition of Usui and being a doctor and being referred to as such. That makes me very my spirit um even if none of the conversation even comes close to that, it makes me very, very happy.
Okay.
Reiki is very necessary and very important, and which is a big part of my Dharma. I'm a Zen Buddhist, to use a word that I use very, very consistently, which I'm going to continue using. Dharma, Dharma,
Mm-hmm.
is one of the three jewels. The three jewels are foundational, truths. To use a confusing word because that's plural, right? Truths.
Yep.
They're based in, a universal truth that has come through into our species and has planted itself in a particular way that I guess we can use some words, in religion and such. Um, but yeah, so excuse me.
Correct.
The three jewels are the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. The Buddha is the goal of enlightenment, and the Dharma is the our purpose, right? For our incarnation. And they never, ever, ever work against each other, obviously. The three jewels slash refuges. And the third jewel is the Sangha, which is a divine community that's based on actual help, in the sense of it doesn't ever go against the first two jewels, right? So Dharma is your purpose for incarnation. So I was going to say a big part of my Dharma is shedding light where there already is light, in the sense of the Reiki tradition. That's a cool poetic way to say it. So
That's cool. So
yes.
before we delve into deep root to your Buddhism, I'm curious now. Did you start in a Buddhist family or you picked it up on your journey as a becoming a Buddhist?
Well, I was born into a Lutheran family, and I am now a certainly self-declared Zen Buddhist.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and my childhood was wonderful, absolutely so. I went to a Catholic high school. The Catholicism kind of got in my face. And I responded fine in that way. And it wasn't obviously 100% preferable, and
Mm-hmm.
would make that worse if someone picked the head up right then and said, you know what, it's not supposed to be preferable for someone in high school. So that's the opposite way to deal with anything. But so you asked, how did I tell me about that? Well, in that way, I mean, understanding that Zen means to see clearly. So in that understanding that we all need to see clearly, it's implied by the fact that we can see that it is to be clear,
Oh, I see.
right?
Yep.
So if you understand that seeing is in its essence already an occasion, but it's a good thing. So that's why you go and you take it as far as you go with it, so to speak, in the sense that setting your sight on 100% clear seeing. So if you do that and you understand that none of me, as 100% self-declared Zen Buddhist on a channel with other people listening, is doing anything to anything outside of that, meaning outside of what I just said,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that's my entire agenda.
I see.
And I think that that's the thing. If you understand that, you being in that me being in that place of clarity, And also Reiki has prayers in there. One that I have thought about a lot over the past couple of years is one in particular about clarity and acceptance. And it's a paragraph long in there, and it has specific kind of interlocking hand positions.
Hmm.
And I can't say more because it's literally against the rules.
Yep.
Because
No worries.
but uh, and that's the other one. The five Reiki principles. The first one is just for today, I will not worry. So that's cool. Um, but so yeah, so basically, yeah, in that way, I mean, understanding that it's okay to let the things that seem to be super important that you're holding in an unnatural kind of like arm locked awkward kind of thing is as an analogy in your real life, right?
Hmm.
uh, and it's okay to allow those pieces to fall, and to allow that relief to happen, and that you returning to your natural self is basically um, what I would say is suggested, right? That I pray that you realize as soon as possible. Um, and understanding that we all deserve to be happy and not suffer needlessly, but understanding that religion in that way, I mean, is not outside of any of the things, uh, uh, in that way that I'm mentioning, right? Because
Hmm.
that's your whole experience as an individual. And but yes, so I hope that answers or suffices for that question.
Okay. So before your spiritual awakening, what were you doing? What were you doing before your spiritual
Yes.
awakening?
So this is kind of, I guess, awkward. But
Oh, you
I
don't
when
you don't have to answer it if it's too,
I'm going to answer
you
it.
know. Okay.
When I was a child, I was a very, very observant child, and I would simply be at that place where my parents would be there. Like I said, my childhood was wonderful.
Hmm.
Um, I remember I have a particularly potent memory with distinct things in that way, so to speak. I don't know if it
Hmm.
even can be otherwise. I would have to ask some kind of cognitive specialist, which I'd love to have a conversation with those people. But I remember I remember being a child and my mom was in the kitchen and my Aunt Barbara was also in the kitchen and I was in the kitchen and I was sitting on this stool, this wood stool, and I was about 3, 4, 5, 6 years old. And I would be in this place where I would observe, and all I was doing was that as a child. So I wasn't anything as I was a Buddhist teacher or I knew anything about this thing and I hadn't studied anything, but I was a child and I would be in this place of pure observation. So there wouldn't be any clutching or aversion,
Hmm.
and I was a child. Um, so that was me. And and then basically as my life went on, and also as a child, I wasn't dumbfounded about it. I was very intelligent. I remember one time I went to, and this does pertain to your question, by the way. Uh, I went to church at Lutheran Church.
Hmm.
And I remember there was one time I was in the pews and I was coloring and I had my knees on the like the ground where the people would step with their feet, and
Hmm.
where your butt would be is where I was coloring on the pew. So the priest was this way behind me and I was down here, on the pew coloring, but I could hear the whole sermon while I was coloring, and the priest couldn't see my eyes or had any idea that I was really listening. And I heard this sermon when there was a war or some kind of, I don't know, a kind of like a territorial disgruntled experience or something, to make it a little bit less down dramatic than the word war, right? There was a kind of, to minimize it a little bit, but there was
Hmm.
a stance that was that was happening, and it was apparently it was over the Holy Land, so Palestine and Israel, or there's something going on when I was a kid. And I was born in 1990, so that would have been about 94, 95, 96.
Okay.
And I had overheard this sermon, this priest in my home parish, which is still there in Buffalo. And the priest said, was talking about it. And then 3 days later, so this was Sunday morning, obviously. Wednesday evening comes around. My mom tucks me in on Wednesday evening, at 8 or 9 p.m. or whatever it is, and she's tucking me in. And I had been mulling it over since Sunday, this sermon. And my mom tucks me in, and pick up my head, and out of nowhere, she didn't bring it up, and I go, "Mom, don't they realize that if they're fighting over the Holy Land, that it makes it less holy?" So to me, that's what the root of my spiritual awakening is and was and will be forever, is what I just shared with you about my own individual self. And in that, then I grew, lived out my life, had experiences that were preferable or not preferable. But you get to a place in yourself psychologically, it's called the individuation process.
Mm-hmm.
And that individuation process is something that has to happen because it just does. And then basically, evolution would be, oh, okay, so we discovered that's a real thing. And then basically getting into that place where you, we design intentionally life on our planet in our structures, right, of the world that we have called civilization, um, accordingly, meaning that, well, we're all meant to be happy and not suffer needlessly, and the individuation process needs to be supported and not inhibited. And that support is a foundation, a safe world. And then basically that's it. And then you take there's a passivity in it because that individual process, the individuation process is requires the passivity to happen optimally. So basically, my spiritual awakening happened. I got into spiritual instruction. I did a whole bunch of research on different spiritual teachers, Adyashanti, Muji, Gangaji, Papaji, and eventually Maharaj Neem Karoli Baba.
How about Babaji and Yogananda?
Yeah, so Maha Pramavatar Babaji, the Ascended Master, and I think, did you say Paramahansa?
uh, Yogananda, I
Yeah,
guess.
Paramahansa
Okay.
Yoganandaji. Yeah, he's another Ascended Master.
Yeah,
So that is the lineage of Kriya Yoga. So yes, so basically, the impetus for me to help humanity was realized and is being actualized right now. And I very much am qualified to instruct in the topic of enlightenment.
I see. So do you have some kind of like a ministry or a church for Buddhism? I'm not sure because I don't know much, so I'm just curious about it.
I have a church that I attend, but I don't have,
Your
a,
own. Okay.
my own ministry in that way, but I certainly wouldn't be opposed to that. You know what I mean? In that way, I have a book called The Reform of the Education System,
Mm-hmm.
for people to get involved with that. My rule of thumb is anyone above the age who can drive a car safely that can get involved.
Okay.
Basically, I take their email down and then I'm going to start a Facebook group. And then basically well, let's do some stuff, and that stuff being education reform, And I have a book, it's formulaic and everything. It's all organized and it's very much needed and implementable, obviously. And I'm super grateful to the education system as a whole as it is right now in this second.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, no, I mean, I'm a Leo and, I mean it in that way, in the sense of being able to lead groups and being able to allow the growth to happen in the group, to not be overbearing, and to understand when to make a call as a leader in context of like delegation of leadership, right? And different hierarchical things that are necessary.
That's cool. So what kind of services are you? I saw there's a like a satsang. Can you explain more of that?
Um, Satsang, yeah. So satsang
Yes.
is a Sanskrit word that means communion with truth. So I have satsang. I am qualified to do satsang.
Mm-hmm.
And I have satsang recordings in that way, not yet with like a group where there's like someone asked like a, you know what I mean, where you see the people and there's a group in front of them and they record, someone else is recording it, they didn't hit
Mm-hmm.
record, right? And they ask questions and everything. Like Teal Swan, to use a cool example. Um, but yeah.
So what I'm trying to get at is what is, because some of us don't know about much in Buddhism. So my question will be is like, what benefits for one to have a satsang ceremony? I'm not sure if that's the right word for it, or so, because I'm not sure what impact does it give to the ones who are receiving
That's a wonderful question, and I'm glad, I'm elated that you didn't hold back and shy away and say, "Oh, well, he'll be offended if I ask this truthful, needed, rooted question," right? It's
it.
rooted,
It's okay.
meaning it's rooted, and then also if you ask questions that are rooted, it has the ability to help people root in, right? So those are the kind of questions that have to be asked. And it's not a matter of like anything else, right? So satsang, well, why is it important?
Mhm.
Basically, right? So, understanding that, uh, I won't go with the poetic romantic answer. So let's go with the actual semantical reason. So semantics is the logical meanings of words. And I'm a philosopher, so I'm well, and a writer, so I'm keen on it, and an orator, so it's like all up in my heart. I use the word a lot. So semantics, the logical definitions of words. So satsang is Sanskrit. It means communion with truth. Um, and basically, we already exist and we know that truth exists in that way. So basically, that's the setting, right? To use a
Mhm.
philosophical perspective and scientific, that you have to have a setting, right, to conduct an experiment properly or what have you. So that's God's setting. So if we understand that, really the entire um, it's there's zero things for me to say outside of in the sense that are new because it's just crazy. So the entire reason is still the same exact reason forever. So meaning that there's nothing about it that could ever be outside of that. So the fact that we have other satsang teachers have had other satsang teachers throughout our history, the and that fact that they existed and the fact that they were listened to and adored and adorned and they also weren't afraid of illusion at all. And that's the whole reason. So if you look at it, well, I'm afraid though. Well, go to satsang. All right. Right. So that's the whole reason for satsang is that it's a genuine response in someone. So now if you understand that, if you take that phrase and we go into the question, the question that I'm answering, that's very most serious, right? And it's also inescapable. So in the sense that we're all our people, and it implies a genuine life experience, and it also implies that have a subjective experience that is that response to our environment, which is inevitable and constant. So you could say that's the reason, but that's not even a single thing. That's just life.
Okay.
Okay. So that's it.
Hmm. So so it's like some kind of ceremony that you have to go through to know your own truths, or you have to follow other people's truth. I'm just a little bit confused
And
on
you
that part.
sorry, you said you said ceremony?
I'm not sure how a satsang is conducted. I'm not sure if it's a ceremony or is it a baptism. So
Yes.
because that's what I am feeling about it. It feels like a baptism. Oh, okay. I see. So so what qualifies one for this baptism?
Okay, so that it's cool that you're calling it a ceremony or calling it a baptism, but it's neither of those things. Those are
Okay.
baptism ceremonies. But there is ceremony in steeped in the tradition of satsang. Like for example, our contemporary person
Mhm.
giving satsang that we could say in that way is Muji Baba, the
Mhm.
Rastafarian African American beautiful Christian spiritual guide of our age, basically. And he is actually a gorgeous man. I mean that in the direct, kind of experiential way. Now, there's
Mhm.
no relational, like personal aspect to it. So if you understand that ceremony, the reason I brought that up is that ceremony is because there is a very specific uh ceremony in the sense of before satsang, you do an incense, there's a bell chime, and then eventually after that, which is kind of like a cleansing preparation ceremony. I mean,
Okay.
I hope I'm not towing the line of disrespect, right?
No, no, no.
Uh,
It's all
Obviously,
good.
Indian culture is very, very real, just like all of the cultures are. And we're really, to me, that's all of the possible cultures would defer to Indian culture in context of satsang. It just do. So then basically the ceremony is yeah, there's incense and there's specific noises and there's an expectation of an atmosphere.
Okay.
And I won't say more because I don't know more. And why would I risk that in the sense of being disrespectful? Um, so then that's ceremony, and that's how ceremony is involved in satsang. And then that would end, I guess, in that way. Well, I guess then satsang begins, or that's pre-satsang. But I know there's music, and it's very specific music, specific, I want to say alone in the intention. So the
Okay.
intention of the music is wholeheartedly devotional, and in that devotion you're understanding the place that you're in, which is not, I like, for example, I would listen to prayer music and I'd put on Krishna Das, who's the, some people would say was the best, is the best kirtan singer, kirtan wala singer, of our age, just like I said with Muji. But I would do that alone, and also there would be no satsang, right? So doing that is one thing, but it's the same exact music and it's the same person. But what's different is the situation and understanding that, well, it's crazy to think otherwise. Understanding, well, there's a reason that you're in satsang, and what is that reason? And connect that reason into the every moment, right? So you have the music going on and you're there and you're present with the music, but you're in that place of concentration. What we can call in Buddhism part of the Eightfold Path called right mind,
Okay.
right? So you're not in a place of ignoring or denying. You're accepting the situation and then then from there, you're allowing the music to be played by other people and being in that place of gentle, loving awareness and attention, right? So that's, yeah.
So, hi, for those who don't know me, I am Lawrence, a dedicated psychic surgeon, a cash reader, alternate self illustrator, to be higher self or lower self, and a spiritual life coach with a passion for guiding others on their journey for self discovery and transformation. I awakened in 2023 and guided by a powerful spirit team, I have mastered and created over 2,000 skills with my team. These skills helps you with your spiritual journey, manifestations, energetic hygiene, and gives you more balance to all aspects of your life, including skills that automatically do your energetic hygienes, automated 24/7 protections without burning off your energy, or skills that gives positive karma to fuel your manifestations, skills that help you manifest the reality that you yearn for, as it helps you align and maintain that positive vibration to the highest, best reality that is rightfully for you. So, if you are interested in psychic skill installations that is fully tested, you can find me at my Linktree account in my bio, or it's Linktree/Angelus Regalia, again, it's Lawrence, and thank you. So, when you said music, is this related to the music, healing music that you're offering as well? The,
Sorry, can you repeat that?
I mean, because you talked about the relationship of satsangs and Buddhism with music, and I'm just curious if the one that you're offering, which is music, healing music, is related to Buddhism and satsang as well, or it's totally different.
You said the music is the music related to satsang?
Yeah,
Music
the healing music that you're
Oh, that I do?
offering. Yes.
Have. Yes. Oh, certainly. I mean, in the sense that I created, I'll say this. The way and the atmosphere and the energy in which I
Mhm.
created the music, I know because I'm the person and I was the only person who recorded it. The entire thing in its entirety. I did all of the button clicks and then the da 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 da. So, I mean, the energy of it, the motivation of it is the same, in the sense of all of the things that people are doing is the motivational energy. For example, if someone goes and they do recycling adventure, right? I have free time and I'm now going to devote my actual personal energy alone to actually that goal. And so that energy of purpose, of dharma, it's the energy of dharma basically, and all it takes is you acting on it. So that was the motivation for it. So I know for a fact, no matter what, that there's no debate in it, that that's the same, to answer your question, that it is in alignment with what you could say in context with satsang.
Mhm.
Um, and also, since it's beautiful and also well done, it will naturally have the energy ability to bring souls to God.
So this is gonna be a heavy question. What and who is God in your sense? I mean, in your truth, because everyone have a definition: Father God, Mother, Father God, or Mother God. So,
Oh yeah, if you want to talk about God, we certainly can do that. Um,
but in your
so,
definitions, it's all good.
oh,
No worries.
oh, I'm flattered. That makes me feel better. Thank you for saying that. Yes. Um, and I guess to tell you a little bit about me as a person, I think I said that earlier, I'm a Leo.
Mm-hmm.
So even further into the area of pleasure, that it's my personal perspective on God, which is the
Mm-hmm.
most, some people would say immediately, right? The most impersonal possible thing, right? In the sense, right? If there ever is to be one.
Yeah.
Even so, to go so far into in the sense that what would defeat ego, like the nature of God being never personal, and that having the somehow this miraculous ability to end ego in our persons. And we can't not be person,
Mm-hmm.
which is why Satan was the one who calls himself God in light of that awareness, that fact that I just brought up, right? Because Satan would say, that's no to that basic. Why? Because, well, I just used words and logic to show that the forever fallacy that is the nature of Satan. And that's the whole thing, right? And that's why people that are holy are able to be at peace by in stillness and being still instead of that um anything else,
There you
right?
go.
But to answer your question about God further, because that was yes, I mean, God to me is the creator of language. So for me right now, using language and enjoying the use of language to me is a connecting the the only technically connecting uh force between me and God. Oh, and that there's no reason to ever be afraid, no matter what. There's no reason to worry ever.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's an interesting point that I've come up with called the point about differences.
Mm-hmm.
And this point about differences is basically that if you understand that differences are inevitable, and allowing your own personal intelligence to basically um, to attach to that in the sense that um, you it's not about changing that, right? So it's not about changing the external and the beauty of the differences that we're perceiving before in that sense, but it's uh what my point is what helps people come to terms with this. And this is your answer about my personal understanding of God is in that. So the understanding that there's an external world that we're living in, that there's nothing that we can do about it in context of what we're talking on right now. Like
Mhm.
in the fact that there's different colored flowers that exist and they already exist, right? And there's different families and different groupings of these things, and there's some that can live together, some that can't live together, and everything. And that you being at that place of uh of coming to terms with that. Now, some people will laugh at that. What are you coming to terms? And why I'm laughing, right, Joe, is because it's flowers and they're beautiful. And what helps them to be beautiful is that they're all not the same. So that's someone who is grokking my point about God. Now, there's other people who have fallen prey to the point, and it's not just about flowers, right? And it becomes a mental hellscape only for yourself. And that's the remedy is the grace of God and language and communication, right? So instead of for a little bit anything else. So let yourself put on the video, let yourself listen, and let yourself just be there and know that like when it's kind of you think of it like this, your body it's an involuntary thing, digestion. So just put on the video and then that's it. And then you're in the space with the video on like this if you're
Mhm.
struggling with it. But you have to be the one who clicks the video on. No one else is going to do that for you, right? So
Yep.
that's the thing that has to happen in order for growth to happen. You have to come into a place of self-honesty. So you being honest with yourself is literally what would save you, what would save your soul. If someone was struggling with that far of a place in themselves of denial, and then you just letting yourself be, as you are in that way is really the answer. It's not a thing. It's just already is. Because you already are, you already exist. God already beautifully created you. And then you're starting to allow God's reality, God's love to be with you,
I
right?
see. Yep.
And you don't have to worry in that way, right? And that there's a world, so what? Right? C'est la vie. Molto bene.
Thank you for sharing. So so in relation to that one, because you told that you can talk about death and the relationship perspectives, what can you say about those topics?
You said relationship perspectives?
And death. And death.
Oh, and death or debt?
Death.
DEBT?
No, the
Death.
yeah.
Ah. Oh, oh. Relationships and death. Well, okay. Yes. Well, sorry. Sometimes you just get in a funny bone about certain things and they're serious and you
It's
don't have to
okay.
explain why you're laughing. So that's what's happening. Um, so anyway, I'll still answer it, obviously. Okay, so relationships and death. So my point of this is basically understanding that um death. Oh, well, okay. This is the thing about it. As I'll answer this as a master healer, as a Reiki master Usui, as a master healer in the field of medicine, right? Which is the most possible serious thing ever. right?
Mm-hmm.
So understanding, seeing it only in that way, well, in the healing way, and basically that you have relationships is that's a thing, and death is a thing. So we're in that place where we understand both of those are a thing and they're real and we're real, right? So we're not in denial about that. And then basically the healing perspective is there shouldn't be an issue. And if there is an issue in there, if there's an uncomfortability or a pain or a projection in communication, even in it could be in your most serious thing of like your relationship with your boss, right? Occupational things, things people are dependent on you for, any of those things. If there's an issue or issues in the light of that, just blank face, like true thing, that relationships and death and you are real and all of those things are real. Now, and that isn't a problem objectively in that way, right? Because that's impossible that it could be. That the only thing that's really going on in that moment is in that recognition is the pointing arrow that goes, hello, I need healing. And I'm you, right? I need healing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the thing about that. And we and yes, allowing that, just allowing, just like the other example I just mentioned, allowing that to be okay. It's okay to 100% need healing,
Okay.
right? And then that's the growth, right? And that growth is infinite because God's love and healing is infinite and your soul is infinite. And I know for a fact that Reiki, being the optimum healing modality, can heal the soul. And that's the thing, is that now you're leaning, so to speak, on the infinite. And
Mm-hmm.
the paradox is that it will still help you to let go of ego. So understanding, right? In the sense that it's infinite, there is infinity, but you in your identification as egoic is not.
Mm-hmm. I see.
Yeah.
That's cool. So my next question will be what kind of s- because we are what do you call this? What kind of services are you planning to offer, or you're trying to create right now or in the future for the masses?
Oh, lovely. Thank you for asking that, my new friend. I hope we can be friends, obviously, and soon at least not be enemies. That's an important one. That's a cool prayer, or a wish. Um, well, the main thing is uh my Dharma dictates as an order forever, so to speak, to use a dramatic word, but in constant, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
Planck's constant in physics, a constant, right? Like gravity or whatever. That I maintain the proper perspective. So my immediate and truthful and important and urgent answer to you is the instillment and the actualization and maintenance of the proper perspective in the human collective as a species. So that's really the whole thing. And as a master teacher, and healer, it's that's the that's the whole enchilada.
Well, I
And then
mean,
obviously, yeah, yeah.
sorry, go ahead, Ted. Go ahead. Oh, I mean, what kind of services that will you offer to the listeners who want to ask for your service as a customer?
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, in that way, I mean, spiritual guidance, doing online teaching groups, if they're, setting up any of that stuff. I also can teach the basics of Tai Chi Qigong, yoga asana, guided meditation groups, Reiki education in any of that way. I have my books available. The reform of the education system work, that all of these things, they're involving me as the center, so to speak, but one person can never ever be the center of the world, and all of those things are needed in our shared world. So I understand that.
Yep.
Um, and and then basically, um, you know, uh, I guess I mean, obviously I understand, being in alignment and trusting, uh, the way that I say it is trusting deeper than any fear, and basically living my life in that place and knowing that where my control properly ends, right? Where my control ends, and then it's just not my business of control. So me being in that place allows me to flow, I guess is the way in the sense, even though I'm sitting still, right? But so in that way, I understanding that we're all in the same universe together, and that you having goals and you having dreams and visions is good, and none of that is wrong. And then basically from there, that's the end of the road for me, and then the rest of it is on the otherness, right? So you, other people, and then taking it from there in response to that, the actuality of that. But basically, to answer your question, what I would hope manifests, as soon as possible is basically people seeing this and taking advantage of my life, that I'm 34, that I'm able-bodied, that I'm tech savvy, and that I'm open completely, so that I'm open to really anything, anyone, or everyone. And that I'm very, very clear in the sense of what I'm about. Um, and people can come to me for any reason, right? So if they are just, hey, I want you to pray for me, or hey, I literally want to take you to a trip to LA and talk at a school and help rewrite the curriculum, or hey, I want to set up an online satsang with you. And I'm looking for opportunities for that myself. I'm not saying I have to just sit here and still and wait for that, but um,
Like
so all
collaborations.
that collaborations is the whole thing. Yes.
Okay. So where can people reach you the easiest? Like, do you have Discord platforms or other social medias that I'll link them all below, but
Sure.
which one's
Yeah,
easy
I mean,
for
I
you to be
I have
reached?
my personal Facebook, just Joe. I think it's just Joe H. Vertino, but I
Mhm.
know for sure to be Joe Hastings, Hastings, Joe Hastings Vertino, Vertino. Joe Hastings Vertino is my personal Facebook. I'll respond to anyone on there. I have saved, archived, like satsang basically, without the group, like I mentioned earlier, about 25 of them on the video log on my personal Facebook that you can find.
Mhm.
Um, and I go and I post on there sometimes and respond and promote stuff that is the proper use of technology in that way, in the sense of that that there's no one behind the curtain, right? And understanding that there is kind of a schematic, or a, what is that called? A schematic, that what you put out, I mean, you could say in that way, the law of attraction, what you put out is what you get back. Okay, so I'm going to like the thing that I actually like, right? I'm going to share the thing that I choose to share. And in that, you get into the proper use, right, of how to use Facebook, instead of I'm done with Facebook, right, and
Mhm.
getting upset about it. But it's just a neutral platform. It's social media.
Yep.
And media is good thing. Socialness is a good thing, and you're not obviously the problem, and you deserve to be happy. So what is it that you can do? What's your kind of, take a goal oriented approach to Facebook rather than kind of anything else, knowing that you, as being an individual, and having a mind and having the ability to achieve goals. That's why Zuckerberg created Facebook, right? Like for me, using it for, I had a page on there called Healing Prayers. I have a page called Mother Mary's Healing Rosary. I had a Reiki Society Global page. There's one called Into the Divine Mind with Joe HV I had on there, and my personal Facebook, and participating in groups that I know are for everyone's highest benefit. And yes, and yeah, I feel like I'm missing a little bit about your question, and I forgot what it was. I got off on the Facebook
It's
education.
more on where can people
My
reach
links
you.
thing.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I have YouTube. My YouTube is just Joe, Joe space Vertino, Joe Vertino.
Mhm.
There's also Joseph Vertino that are linked. And I have over 225 videos, um, on that entire thing. There's guided meditations, and podcasts I have on there, spiritual insight and wisdom and music and prayer. Um, a lot of it, all of it is self-expression. Um, I have a SoundCloud. SoundCloud is Joe HV, capital J, lowercase OE, space, capital HV. I have an hour of free music on there. And then I'm working on getting all of my personally recorded and original music on platforms. It's on my personal iTunes, and I'm working to get it out there. I have a SoundCloud and I have music on YouTube
Okay.
recorded, but I have it on my personal iTunes library right now, and I'm working to get it out on like iTunes or Spotify or so, really anything. But I have about 4.5 hours in total of my personally recorded original and some covered composed music that I have.
Okay.
Yep.
So before
And
we
my
end,
book, my book's on Amazon under
okay.
Joseph Vertino.
Yeah, just send me the links, then I'll put them in the
Sure.
descriptions. Also,
Do you,
before we end the show,
yeah.
what I have some last questions. So, like, what does it mean to live authentically?
Oh, to allow yourself, you know what I'll use to answer that one? The title of my book, The Nothingness of Love, a Buddhist book of poetry. So, The Nothingness of Love, a Buddhist book of poetry, um, is basically that there's still an impulse, even though someone who's a spiritual guru, so to speak, figure in front of you is declaring, and they even have a book named it, and they're putting in
Mm-hmm,
people's faces proudly with those words, the nothingness of love. And love, God is love.
mm-hmm.
And God is the creator. There's still an impulse in you uh, of authenticity. So that to me is what it means to be authentic. That's how I'll answer that.
That's nice.
Yeah.
So, the next one is like, what will you tell your younger self if you manage to go back in time and give him an advice?
Oh, what a wonderful question. Oh my God, but it's horrible for me personally. The
Oh
question's
boy.
wonderful. It's just that it's horrible because my life has been so difficult, in that way.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I I can't not say it in the sense of with a smile on my face. Oh, oh, oh. It would be I wouldn't actually say anything. But basically what it would be.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't actually. Seriously. You would think that would be impossible, that there would be something. When there's something? No, literally, there would be nothing to say. Um, uh, because there's a completeness already available in me. And I know that, and my soul knows that, and there'd be nothing to communicate.
So
Um,
technically everything is perfect as is, and it's all in divine plan and timing that it move you where you are right now. And without everything else, it won't push you to where you are in the moment, which is perfect in the sense.
well, perfection is basically, I'll answer it. I'll put it this way.
Mm-hmm,
Understanding that what I would do is I would do my best to provide relief to myself through the conversation, through words. And I probably would pull it off pretty well. But basically, the fact that I already know what hell is like, I've been through it, and I know that, and I can tell when people are going through hell. And I also know how to respond to that properly. So basically, that qualifies me um, to, in that way I'll say, as a master healer, and is a great reason for people to, I guess, check out my material and share it.
mm-hmm.
Because that's not just for me. I can do that for anybody. Um, being a true Reiki master and also having this gift of spiritual guidance. Um, so that's cool. I mean, I
There you
made
go.
that one up for everybody, which is just fine.
So, any last messages for our listeners?
I just, well, I guess it's interesting that you say that. I guess I'll finish with this. It's a little bit business oriented at the end, but I'll say it anyways.
It's okay.
Instead of like a Hallmark kind of sending off.
No, no, it's all good.
But I made a guided meditation just this morning, and it's about the messenger of God, the Archangel Gabriel. I'm doing a series of guided meditations, the 14 archangels, so one of each of them, uh, you know, uh, for um, for each video. And I did Archangel Gabriel, and the topic is um, the the messages you are telling yourself. So I guess I'll say that's the parting message. That I have that guided meditation, that it's available to you, that it's just newly made. It's on the YouTube. I have the same sweatshirt on and outfit.
There you
There's
go.
background. And it's 40 minutes, it's solid length, and it's for anybody and everybody. If no one has, if you've never meditated before, it's certainly so appropriate to go to that video. And any of my videos. And then also, if you're an expert in meditation, super appropriate to go to the video.
There you
Uh,
go.
yes. Um, so I guess I'll go with that. That I just want you to know that I love you in such a way.
Thank you.
And that's all.
Um, Again, thank you for attending the show, and it's an honor for you to be. It's my honor for you to be here, and I hope I'll see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lawrence, Mr. Lawrence.
Thank you.
Blessings to anyone watching this. Much love from afar, Dr. Joe Vertino. All
Thank
right.
you. Bye.
Boom.